She once walked into the spotlight wrapped in diamonds, her name whispered like a promise of glamour, Imogen Hassall. To the British tabloids, she was the perfect story. Beautiful, bold, and fragile enough to break on cue. They called her the Countess of Cleavage, a title that glittered on magazine covers but cut deep beneath her skin. Every headline sold a piece of her smile, her heartbreak, her silence, until there was nothing left to sell. Behind the smiles, frozen in flashbulbs, lay a woman who longed not to be looked at, but to be understood. And when her story ended in a quiet hotel room, the same press that had fed on her pain rushed to claim her final word. What truly happened to Imogen Hassall, the actress the tabloids destroyed? Imogen Hassall was born in 1942 into an artistic family in Surrey, England. Her father, a director, her mother, a stage actress. She grew up surrounded by scripts, costumes, and the glow of backstage lights. It seemed inevitable that she would one day step into that same world, though perhaps she never imagined how merciless the spotlight could be. In the late 1960 seconds, British cinema was changing wilder, freer, and obsessed with the allure of the modern woman. Imogen fit that image perfectly, dark-haired, magnetic, and effortlessly sensual. She appeared in films like Carry On Loving and When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth, where the camera adored her curves more than her craft. The audience loved her, but critics saw only a body, never a performance. The tabloids built her legend faster than the industry could define her. The Countess of Cleavage. They dubbed her a cruelly glamorous nickname that followed her from film sets to dinner parties. For a while, she smiled through it, believing that fame was the doorway to something greater. But as the lights grew brighter, the shadows behind them began to take shape. Because while the world adored the woman on the screen, no one seemed to notice the one behind it. Before the tabloids, before the headlines, there was simply a girl who dreamed of the stage. Imogen Hassall grew up watching her parents create worlds out of words and light. Acting wasn't rebellion for her, it was inheritance. She studied at the Elmhurst Ballet School and later trained in acting, carrying the quiet certainty that art could be her language to the world. Her early career was modest. Small roles on television, stage work that paid little but filled her with purpose. Then came the late 1960 seconds, the era of experimentation, when British cinema craved fresh faces and untamed beauty. Imogen stepped into that current like she was born for it. Her appearance in The Virgin and the Gypsy and Carry On Loving turned heads across the country. She became the woman producers wanted on every poster, her image, a symbol of both innocence and temptation. Yet inside, she longed for roles that could show the world what she could truly do. That was the paradox of her rise. The brighter her beauty shone, the more invisible her soul became. And while everyone around her celebrated a new starlet's success, Imogen began to feel the first tremors of something she could not yet name, the cost of being desired more than understood. Fame came swiftly, too swiftly for someone as tender as Imogen Hassall. Every photograph, every appearance, every glance she gave became material for the tabloids. They wrote about her dresses, her laughter, her lovers. The woman who once dreamed of meaningful roles was now reduced to headlines that sold fantasies. At first, she tried to play along. She smiled at the cameras, joked with reporters, pretended that the name, the Countess of Cleavage, was just another part she could perform. But the more she performed it, the less she recognized herself. Film after film typecast her as the seductive distraction, never the heroine. Directors praised her looks, not her skill. Producers pushed her into photo shoots she hated. Her talent, sharp, intuitive, deeply emotional, was quietly buried under the weight of her image. Behind the glossy magazine pages, her life was unraveling. The collapse of her marriage to actor Kenneth Ives left her adrift, and a heartbreaking personal loss, one too painful for most to understand, silenced her for months. Yet the tabloids didn't stop. They dug deeper. Her grief became gossip, her tears, entertainment. The more they wrote, the smaller she felt. Fame had once promised her belonging, but now it was a mirror that showed only what others wanted to see. And when she looked into it, she no longer saw Imogen Hassall, only the woman the press had invented. By the mid-1970 seconds, the shimmer of fame had begun to fade. The roles stopped coming, and the scripts that once piled on her doorstep vanished. The same magazines that had glorified her beauty now mocked her for being past her prime. It was the cruel rhythm of celebrity. They built you up only to sell your downfall. Imogen tried to reinvent herself, auditioning for more serious parts, but directors had already decided who she was. Too recognizable, they said. Too much of a tabloid face. It was as if the headlines had erased her before she could even walk into the room. Her confidence fractured. Friends recalled how she withdrew from parties and premieres, preferring the quiet of her small London flat to the noise of the industry that no longer called. There were whispers about her mental state, stories spun from fragments of truth and invention, but no one stopped to ask what she truly needed: peace, or simply to be left alone. She kept a diary during those years, writing of exhaustion, of feeling like a ghost wandering through her own life. Fame had given her everything and taken everything back. The woman who once lit up the screen now walked unseen through the city that had once adored her. It was a descent not marked by scandal or spectacle, but by silence, the kind that swallows you slowly, until you forget the sound of your own voice. In November 1980, Imogen Hassall checked into a small hotel in London, a familiar place, quiet enough for her to disappear for a while. To the world, she was simply another forgotten actress from a fading era. But for those who had known her, there was still hope that she might find her way back to the screen she once illuminated. Instead, news broke that she was gone. A mysterious passing, the papers said. Even in death, the tabloids claimed her story as their own. They printed her private pain one last time, filling columns with speculation and cruel irony. The woman they had driven into silence now filled their front pages again, this time with no voice left to defend herself. She was only 38. In her room, she had left behind letters, quiet words about exhaustion, about not wanting to be a burden anymore. It was not a scandal, but a surrender. A life weighed down by too much noise, ending in stillness. The public reacted with fleeting shock. Some mourned, others moved on by the next headline. But among those who had worked with her, there was anger at the press that had turned a talented actress into a tragic caricature. One colleague said softly, "They never let her live in peace, not even after she was gone." And that became her final role, a warning written in ink and sorrow. Time has a way of softening memory, but Imogen Hassall's story refuses to fade. Today, when her films resurface on late-night television or streaming archives, viewers see more than a beauty symbol from a bygone era. They see the fragility behind her eyes, the quiet yearning in every smile. Her brief career left only a handful of roles, yet each carries the ghost of what might have been. In When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth, she moved like someone trying to escape her own reflection. In Carry On Loving, her laughter carried a melancholy no script required. Decades later, critics revisiting her work began to write what they should have written then, that Imogen was not just a face, but an actress with instinct and intensity that the industry never gave a chance to grow. Among younger performers, her name lingers like a cautionary tale. How fame can turn art into exposure and exposure into erasure. Yet there's also something quietly redemptive in how audiences now talk about her not as a scandal, but as a symbol of empathy. She became a mirror for the cost of celebrity, and in that reflection, she finally reclaimed her story. Imogen Hassall's life is the portrait of a woman divided between two worlds, the one that adored her and the one that consumed her. On screen, she was radiant, a symbol of the new, liberated woman of 1960 seconds Britain. Off-screen, she was fighting a quieter, lonelier battle to be seen, not for her beauty, but for her humanity. The light she stood under was never hers to control. Every flashbulb, every headline, every cruel nickname pulled her further from the woman she truly was. The press celebrated her rise, documented her struggles, and profited from her fall, never once asking if she wanted to be part of their story. And yet, even through the distortion of gossip and sensationalism, her essence remains. The artist who wanted to be taken seriously, the woman who sought love and understanding in a world that treated her pain as performance. Fame gave Imogen Hassall immortality, but it was the shadow, the silence after the noise that revealed who she really was. In remembering her, we remember every star who shone too brightly for too long, until the light itself became too heavy to bear. What do you remember most about Imogen Hassall, the glamour, or the silence that followed it? If she were still here today, what would you say to her, to the woman behind the headlines, behind the name they never let her escape? Every photograph, every story, every fading frame of film still whispers the same truth. No one truly knows what it costs to be loved by strangers. Share your thoughts below your favorite role, your memory, or simply a word for a woman the world misunderstood. And if stories like this remind you that every light casts a shadow, subscribe to stay with us. Fame and shadows, every star has its story.